WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from an independent bottler here in Germany. His name is Mr.Whisky. Very, very interesting. His real name is actually Michael Rickhardt. So Michael Rickhardt, and I've had him on my live stream in German before, a guy I know and I actually respect him highly. So what I have here is part of a cask share program. It's called Light in the Dark from Mr.Whisky, single malt Scotch whiskey. It was distilled on the 21st of May 2009. It was bottled on the 31st of May 2021, so it has reached the 12 years. It was in a bourbon hogshead. Oh, that was a very, very generous pour. I'm sorry. I'm going to do this instead. And it's 64.2%, which is a lot, I think. But we'll see if that's too much. And it is Whiskybase number 191127. I paid 70 euros for this bottle. Now, what I did is I actually bought 3 bottles because I bought a cask share. And I bought a cask share, and therefore I actually had the 1 bottle here. I've shared it with my with various people in Germany. They buy 5cl or 10cl and share it. The other 2 bottles I sold also to super fans, people who support me on Patreon. I'm allowed to sell whiskey. I have a license here in German to do that. So I sell to people and I send it, and with the mail and so on. We have a totally different system over here in Europe than we do in the USA. We do not have a 3-tier system. So this is a private guy. He actually has his own business license as well. He buys the cask. He lets them be bottled in Scotland. To be called single malt Scotch, it has to be distilled, it has to be aged, it has to be bottled in Scotland. The bottles are brought over here on pallets, and then he sells these bottles, as I said, for this case, as part of the cask share program in packages of 3. And you never know what you're going to get. So you do know it's going to be in Orkney. Orkney is Highland Park, and you do know the age, and you do know the ABV, but you do not know if it's going to taste this or like that or whatever. So what does it smell like? Oh, it smells like a Highland Park. So what am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to a Highland Park. So it's a single cask series here for Kirsch in Germany. This is one of 577 bottles. Why? Because it's from a refill butt. So butt would in this case actually mean a sherry butt. So Whiskybase number 182851. This was distilled in 2009. This was bottled 2020. This was bottled 2021. So this has an age of 10 years, which is interesting. This has an age of 12 and a couple days. 66.5%. Here we have our 64.2%. Now, what is also kind of a little bit interesting is that this picture here on the label is a window of an Orkney, the island Orkney. It says cathedral. I'm going to say church. So I don't know if Michael actually himself took the picture and then made the label, or someone else took that picture. I think it's kind of cool. All right, cask strength, non-chilled filtered, uncolored, and so on and so on. Bourbon hogshead. So nice color. This is a little bit darker. Of course, it's an ex-sherry cask. What do you expect? 12 years, 10 years, 70 euros, about 100 euros. Between 95 and 100 euros, depending on where you go. Germany exclusive, Germany exclusive. All right, so on the nose, as I said, this is typical Highland Park. I get the heather. I get a tiny little bit of a smoke. I get some honey. I get some vanilla bourbon cask. Okay, hogshead. Nice. Over here. Much sweeter. That sherry fruitiness comes through. And that smoke is a little bit more intensive here than here. Now, what really, really, really surprises me is I took big whiffs of a 64 and a 66% ABV whiskey without even blushing. All right, so I must commend both of these people on doing a great job with the cuts of the hearts. And a wonderful job of picking good casks that have actually had an interactive as well as an additive and subtractive maturation process to make this whiskey smell at this high proof in such a great manner. Well done, both of you here. Now, 70 euros versus 100 euros. What am I going to pick? Older, younger, a tiny little bit less, a tiny little bit more. Let's try them and see which one I'm going to pick and why. Of course, I'm going to probably go for my friend as an independent bottler that I know personally. I like independent bottlers. I like the price of that independent bottle. In the past, we're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, independent bottlers were often much cheaper than the original bottling. Now, you could argue that this is exclusively bottled for Kirch in Germany, so it is also an independent bottler, but it does say Highland Park on it. It is the label of the company. This can only say Orkney because you hardly ever have any independent bottlers that say Highland Park on them. So, I have the feeling that the peatiness of Highland Park varies. Even if you look here, I'm going to go to the Highland Park 14. At the back, it says here, explore our flavors, spirit of the bear, its intense aromatic smokiness. The sweet and complex that I have here is matured slowly and sherry seasoned, less peat. We have the spicy and elegant 16-year-old Wings of the Eagle, matured and handpicked cherry seasoned cask with layers of flavor. And we have the Travel Edition 18-year-old, which is intense and balanced. It has a mirroring strength for a fuller flavor. I have the feeling here that different Highland Parks have different intensities of the peatiness. And I get this here as well. This has a more intense peatiness than this, and that would actually concur with my experience so far with independent bottlers from Highland Park. Sometimes it's barely noticeable, and sometimes it's almost overpowering. So, 64.2%. Cheers. Now, there is some heat here. Expected. It is 64.2%. It is a single malt from Orkney, but it is still drinkable, which is just amazing if you ask me. That Bourbon Hogshead did a great job here. The peat in this is less than expected. There is a heather note in there. There is honey. There is vanilla from the wood. There is a little bit of an herbalness. It is a very honest whiskey. Now, I've had my share, unfortunately probably not enough, but I've had my share of some very honest whiskeys. Okay, what is an honest whiskey? An honest whiskey is a whiskey that has spent the majority, if not all of its time, in American oak. Usually either Hogshead or a ex-bourbon cask. Normally not a first fill, the wood is not overpowering, and yet the spirit gets to shine through. All right, so I'm going to show you a dishonest whiskey. All right, so take a look at this color. This is not how whiskey should look like, especially not after 5 years, 8 years. So this was distilled, this is 8-year-old whiskey, all right? So 8 years old, this is not how a whiskey normally should look. That is not an honest whiskey. That is syrup sherry that actually destroys any character of a distillery almost entirely. Now here, this is I'm going to say almost an honest refill sherry, but the color is exactly how I expect. Also, the flavor is there without overpowering the whiskey. There's a harmony. There's a duet going on here and not one single note that destroys everything else. So let's try this with its 66% here. To be exact, it's 66.5%. Cheers. The thing that really amazes me is the amount of peatiness in here. This is the standard type of peatiness for Highland Park, and this somehow the peatiness has almost disappeared. There would be friends of mine that would drink this and say, it's not peated. I was like, yes, it is. It's very, very subtle in the background. No, there isn't. Yeah, yes, it is. Believe me. And here it's like, oh yeah, I get the peat now. I have some friends that are so peat blind that they won't even get that. But these are people who have been drinking cask strength peated Lafroig and Atbeck and Lagavulin their last 10 years, and they're just take a break for 6 months and try something not peated again, and then you'll realize what peat is. But otherwise, there's that sherry moment. Now, to be very, very honest, if I'm in the mood for a good sherried Highland Park, this would be something I'd gravitate towards. I kind of like this. Now, I do respect and I do cherish a good old-fashioned hogshead maturation. So now what would I go towards more? Value for money, this is going to be a solid C. Value taste, it's a C+. I, WhiskyJason, do not grab a Highland Park cask strength in my free time ever. If I'm going to drink something, I'm going to drink rye, I'm going to drink bourbon, I'm going to drink Irish, and then I'm going to drink Scotch, and then I'm going to, and then if I have nothing else left, then I'm going to think about a peated Scotch. I no longer dislike peated Scotch. I can drink peated Scotch and I can enjoy a good Highland Park, but it's not something I gravitate to. I'm using that word again. It's not something that I would naturally grab and try and taste and enjoy in my free time. I have many, many, many hundreds of things on the list before I go there. But I do know people that will love this whiskey, that will give this a B+ in their books. This is the old style of a Highland Park that they have enjoyed way back when. This is also a good Highland Park. Both of these are excellent when you add water to them. You can dilute them down below 50%. No problem whatsoever. You have more value for money if you actually want to add water. It doesn't really kill the whiskeys, but rather they do develop in a manner that is positive for me, and less of that alcohol overwhelmingness that we get with 66 and with 64%. And yet, both of these can be drunk at cask strength and enjoyed, in my personal opinion. If you've ever had Booker's, you're going to be able to drink this, all right? At least from the ABV point of view. I'm not sure about the flavor. I'm definitely not sure about the peatiness of these whiskeys. All right, so my question of the day is, I do have an independent bottler here that is a very affordable, 70 euros for cask strength, 12 years old, from Highland, from Orkneys. And I have here a original bottling, 100 euros. So my question is, both of these are Highland Park. Which Highland Park independently bottled cask strength whiskey can you recommend that may have entered onto the market wherever you are within the last 2 years? Now, the problem we're going to have with a single cask is here we have 577 bottles. After half a year almost, they're still in the market, a few. Here we had 307 gone. All right, so he has a good community of people that buy his bottles, not just 3 like I did, but 6 and 9 and 12 and birthday presents and Christmas presents and so on. There's a big community that recognize that Mr.Whisky has been selecting and also bottling products, Irish whiskey, Dingle, that's how I met him, as well as a lot of single malt stuff that has an excellent value for money ratio. And so anything he does goes very, very quickly, basically. All right, so what Highland Park cask strength whiskey from an independent bottler can you recommend? Put it down in the comments, please. Maybe add the Whiskybase number if you'd be so kind. And some of us might actually look and read that and go, oh, maybe we can find that as well. Maybe we can try that and see if we agree with your opinion there. That's good to have a community. It's good to be part of this. And I thank you very much for liking, subscribing, telling others, and maybe even sharing this video on social media. And we will see each other very, very soon. WhiskyJason here. Bye-bye.